The music hall was already buzzing long before the famous singer stepped onto the stage. Bright lights washed over rows of excited faces. Phones raised, voices shouting her name. Backstage corridors echoed with hurried footsteps. Managers whispering into headsets. Assistants rushing with bottled water and last-minute instructions. Near the side entrance stood Daniel Reyes, a security guard in his late 30s. Shoulders slightly slumped after a long shift. Dark blue uniform neatly pressed despite being worn thin. His ID badge hung from his chest, and a simple wedding band circled his finger, the only reminder of a life that had changed too fast and too painfully. Daniel wasn't supposed to be noticed. That was his job. Stand still. Watch quietly. Keep order. Protect everyone else's spotlight. He'd been doing security work for years now, ever since his wife passed away and left him, alone with a 6-year-old son who believed his father could do anything. Daniel worked double shifts night after night, humming softly to himself during breaks, singing lullabies to his son over the phone when he was too exhausted to keep his eyes open. Music had once been his dream, but dreams didn't pay rent or school fees. The singer, Ava Monroe, was at the peak of her fame. Every song she released climbed the charts within hours. Her voice was praised as once in a generation. Her confidence unmatched. She was known not only for her talent but for her sharp tongue and playful cruelty that fans often excused as humor. That night, she was in an especially teasing mood, feeding off the crowd's energy as she joked between songs, laughing as thousands laughed with her. During a break between sets, Ava paced the stage, scanning the audience and then glancing toward the side where staff and security stood. Her eyes landed on Daniel. He stood out only because he wasn't smiling, not because he was bored, but because he was tired. His thoughts were on his son, Mateo, who would be asleep by now, clutching the old stuffed bear Daniel had won at a carnival years ago. Daniel didn't notice Ava staring until a spotlight suddenly snapped toward him. "Well, look at this guy," Ava said into the microphone, her voice amplified and playful. "Everyone's having fun except him." Laughter rippled through the crowd. Daniel froze, heart pounding. He looked around, hoping she meant someone else, but the light was clearly on him. "Come on," Ava continued, grinning. "You look like you've got a story. What's your name?" "Security." Daniel hesitated. He wasn't trained for this. He cleared his throat. "Daniel," he said quietly, his voice barely reaching the stage. "Oh, Daniel," Ava repeated dramatically. "You guarding us from bad vibes or something?" The crowd laughed again. Daniel forced a polite smile. He just wanted the moment to pass. But Ava wasn't done. "You know," she said, tilting her head, "I bet you sing in the shower. Don't deny it. Everyone does." More laughter. Daniel shook his head slightly. "No, ma'am," he said. "Oh, now you're lying," Ava teased. "Come on. I need entertainment during my water break. Let's hear you sing." The crowd roared at the idea. Phones turned toward Daniel. Some people whistled, others shouted encouragement mixed with mockery. Daniel felt heat rush to his face. His hands trembled. This wasn't fun for him. This was humiliation. Broadcast 2000s. "I'm just doing my job," Daniel said, trying to remain respectful. Ava laughed. "Relax, it's just a joke. Don't be shy. Sing something. Anything." The chant started slowly, then grew louder. "Sing, sing, sing." Daniel swallowed hard. Memories flooded his mind. Late nights singing softly to Mateo, his wife smiling at him years ago, telling him he had a gift. The audition he never went to because life got in the way. He looked down at his boots, scuffed from endless shifts. "I really shouldn't," he said. Ava rolled her eyes playfully. "Come on, security guy. If it's bad, we'll laugh. If it's good, well, we'll still laugh." That line hit harder than anything else. Daniel felt something shift inside him. He thought of Mateo watching videos online one day, maybe seeing his father mocked, or maybe seeing him stand up for himself. Daniel took a slow breath. "All right," he said softly. The crowd quieted just a little, surprised he agreed. Ava raised her eyebrows, amused, and waved her hand. "All right, ladies and gentlemen, Give it up for Daniel, the security guard. A few sarcastic claps echoed. Daniel closed his eyes. For a moment, the massive hull disappeared. He imagined his small apartment dimly lit. Mateo curled up on the couch, listening. He opened his mouth and sang. The first note cut through the air like a blade. It wasn't loud. It wasn't flashy. It was pure. The crowd's laughter died instantly. Daniel's voice was rich, warm, and painfully emotional. Every word carried weight, as if he were singing from the deepest part of himself. His control was effortless, his tone flawless. Years of silent practice, of singing through grief and exhaustion, poured out in that moment. Ava's smile slowly faded. Daniel continued, eyes still closed, hands clenched at his sides. His voice climbed, filling the hull, echoing off walls built for sound. People who had been recording for laughs now stood frozen, mouths open. Some lowered their phones without realizing it. Others felt tears sting their eyes without knowing why. Ava took a step back from the microphone. By the time Daniel reached the chorus, the entire venue was silent except for his voice. You could hear breathing. You could hear hearts pounding. His voice wasn't just good. It was unforgettable. When he finished, the final note lingered in the air, trembling before fading into nothing. For a heartbeat, there was silence. Then the room exploded. Applause thundered from every corner. People jumped to their feet. Cheers turned into screams. Some shouted his name. Others shouted in disbelief. Ava stood completely still, staring at Daniel as if seeing him for the first time. She slowly brought the microphone back to her mouth but didn't speak right away. Her eyes were wide, her confident persona cracked. Wow, she finally said, her voice quieter than before. I didn't expect that. Daniel opened his eyes, stunned. His chest rose and fell rapidly. He hadn't planned for this part. Ava walked toward the edge of the stage, looking directly at him now. Not as a joke, not as a prop, but as an equal. Where did you learn to sing like that? She asked. Daniel hesitated, then shrugged. Life, he said simply. I sing to my son. The crowd reacted with another wave of applause, softer this time, warmer. Ava nodded slowly. I owe you an apology, she said, turning back to the audience. That wasn't fair. I thought I was being funny. She looked back at Daniel. You're incredible. Daniel felt his throat tighten. He nodded, unsure what to say. Ava smiled, genuine now. Would you sing that again? With the band this time? Gasps rippled through the crowd. Daniel's hands shook. I don't know. You do, Ava interrupted gently. Trust me? Moments later, Daniel stood on stage. The bright lights blinding him, the band ready behind him. He felt out of place in his uniform, but he stood tall. This time, when he sang, he wasn't alone. Music wrapped around his voice, lifting it higher, stronger. Ava harmonized with him, carefully, respectfully, letting him lead. By the end, the crowd was chanting his name. Backstage afterward, Ava found him sitting quietly, overwhelmed. She sat beside him. You ever thought about singing professionally? She asked. Daniel laughed softly. Every day, but I've got a kid to raise. Ava nodded. So do a lot of people with talent. Doesn't mean you give it up? She handed him a card. Call this number. No promises. Just a chance. Daniel stared at it, hands trembling. That night, he went home late. Mateo was asleep, but Daniel knelt beside his bed, brushing hair from his son's forehead. Daddy sang today, he whispered. Weeks later, a video titled Security Guard's Voice Shocks Famous Singer went viral. Millions of views. Comments flooded in. Daniel's life didn't magically become perfect, but doors began to open. Small gigs, studio sessions, hope, and every night, no matter where he was, Daniel still sang to his son, reminding him and himself that sometimes the world laughs before it listens.